A major Twin Ports drug trafficking ring is no more tonight after it was broken up by law enforcement.
U.S. Attorney Andrew Luger held a news conference in Duluth today to announce the bust following a 2-year investigation that ended with the indictments of 8 suspects.
Northern News Now's Madison Green tells us about a new position created to help combat the rising drug problem right here in our area.
663 overdoses and 61 deaths in St. Louis County last year, all because of opioids.
It is a significant problem in this county. You talk to business owners, you talk to families. There's very few people that aren't touched by the drug problem in our county.
St. Louis County Sheriff Gordon Ramsey spoke at a press conference where U.S. Attorney Andrew Luger announced the indictment of 8 individuals for drug trafficking conspiracy and the addition of the first U.S. Minnesota state attorney to be positioned anywhere in the state outside of the capital, Nicole Carter.
We're bringing all our resources to wherever in the state of Minnesota we're needed, and as a result, a direct result of the meetings that we had over last year, we realized we needed to put more effort here because of the drug trafficking.
Carter will be located in Duluth, where only one of the 8 offenders indicted was from. Investigators say that suspect was caught selling fentanyl on Superior Street a year ago. The rest were from Chicago.
And we're seeing that all over the state of Minnesota, but particularly here as well.
Why? According to authorities, the deadly drug can be sold here for more money with less violent competition. But they're hoping adding this position will mitigate the problem.
Treatment, harm reduction is important, but there needs to be accountability for people that are selling and using.
In Duluth, Madison Green, Northern News Now.
Madison, thank you. Now, Luger says positioning Carter in Duluth is not only an example of the action law enforcement will take, but it serves as a warning against those involved in drug trafficking in the Twin Ports.